live. Well, I'm live. Hello, Kagglers. Welcome to live coding. So, as you might be able to see from the title of the video, today we're going to be using a new feature that Kaggle just launched called Tasks. And I linked to the announcement in the bottom of the YouTube video, but I will pull it up here so y'all can see. So this was 3 days ago, so like a little bit earlier on in the week. And if you didn't know, Kaggle hosts data sets. So it's one of the, I'm zoomed in a lot, but if you're zoomed out a little bit, you can see it right up here. And for a long time, people would just sort of like upload a data set and maybe they'd like ask some questions or like provide some guidance in the description of the data set, but you couldn't do a, you couldn't have like a specific thing that you would ask people to do that was like supported by the platform in a, you know, more formal way, I guess. But tasks do this. So, they are right now on the sidebar of the dataset search, so kaggle.com/datasets. And you can see right now there are some open tasks that we could poke at. And what I'm planning to do today is pick one of these tasks and play around with it. So I see this one, high-level summary in international energy something or other. International energy statistics, by the dataset is by the UN. Global energy trade and production, 1990 to 2014. Hello. I know I've asked this before. George. I'm just going to say George. I think that might not have been it. And Will, hello. F. Shamil, a Kaggle user, has said it would be useful to have a high-level summary of this data. It should be either a Kaggle notebook or .pdf containing images which rapidly allow a reader to understand the dataset. Evaluation, a good solution will summarize the key points of the dataset in as few lines as possible. So it sounds like this is a sort of an exploratory data analysis challenge that's pretty I don't know what I was going to say. It is pretty coffee. That's what it is. So this sounds like an interesting one. And then one that I could actually finish in an hour, because it looks like some of these other ones are on, like Fashionabnist is probably going to be a more of a, well, who knows what this task is for, because this particular person has not filled out the information. So question mark. But some of these look like they are more in, so the Fashionabnist is more of a computer vision data set is what I was looking for. Hey Ninja, welcome. And good morning, Data Matrix. A little bit more coffee, my Kaggle mug today. Whew. Somebody's calling somebody, one sec. Nope, it's done. Nope, it's not. Fixed. Sorry, my husband's computer is behind me and somebody was calling him apparently. All right, so I just want to look at this one as well. Do people learn by contributing ... to open source? And this task was submitted by Nityesh Agarwal? Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Task details. Contributing to open source probably helps people learn new programming skills. But in my analysis of Indian developers, I found that a considerable portion of them do not consider it a part of their education. Contributing to open source software doesn't just help the community, but it also helps the contributor in his/her personal growth. So I wasn't sure what I could infer from the above finding. Maybe there are other groups of developers who feel this disconnect as well. So here you can see the orange bars on the right-hand side are, do you think open source is an important part of your education? And in the US, UK, and Germany, lots of people do, and also, okay, let's see. So the blue bars on the left and if you're colorblind, these may be the same color for you, are contributions to open source. So it looks like more Indian developers are contributing to open source than consider it an important part of their learning. And in the US, UK, and Germany, more people consider it an important part of their learning than are contributing. Mathematical Ninja says, it's 10:30 p.m. here, but sleep is for the weak. That's, you know, especially on, what, a Friday night? That's not an unreasonable bedtime. I don't know how early you're getting up. That is the latent variable there. So the expected submission for this was an analysis of open source contributions and their learning habits. Who might be the people who find a disconnect between contributing to open source and learning from the experience? It would be good if we could diagnose this problem and learn what could be the possible reasons for this. And the evaluation is just make it pretty and interesting, all the best. So I think that's a really good question, and this is from the 2018 developer survey. But I'm feeling more of a visualization mood this morning, so I think we're gonna go with this high-level summary one. So, George says, so completing tasks can help to improve one's position ranking, right? Let me double check. Let's see, data sets, create a task, submit a solution. Community can upvote their favorite submissions, and the original author of the tasks can select their accepted response. So I believe it could help you in that having your notebooks be seen could help you get more upvotes on those notebooks, which would help you towards the notebook contributor tier. I don't believe there's specifically a like a medal tier for tasks, but might be in the future. Who knows? This is very much under active development, and we're adding more stuff to it. But we wanted to get sort of like the MVP, that stands for minimum viable product, if you are not familiar, out so people could start using it, like me and people. Nothing About That says, good morning, Rachel. I know nothing about Kaggle tasks, so here to learn. Welcome. I think most people don't. They launched 3 days ago, so brand new. All right, so we have, this is the one we're going to go with, this international energy statistics. And a good solution will summarize the key points of the data set in as few lines as possible. So it looks like this challenge is for really concise visualization code. And for that, I'm going to use R. So submit, I would need to have already written my notebook, and then I could use this to submit a notebook that is public or a data set. So if the task was, hey, I want a cleaned version of this data set, you could ask for data set instead. But I'm actually going to do a notebook. All right, and I am going to do R. So the 3 places where I think the R ecosystem is preferable to the Python ecosystem for me specifically are working with tabular data and data manipulation, visualization, which is what we're doing today, and statistics. So that's what I found working, TIDYBRC. That's what I found working with both R and Python. So what should we call this? Energy, what was the data set again? International Energy Statistics is what the data set is called. And then the task is called High Level Summary. So let's call this, no, Control A, Control V, summary, International Energy Statistics Summary. So we can use this as our notebook and then have some nice visualizations and then submit it. Robbie says, hello, it's very cold in Delhi. Ooh, stay warm. It's not that cold here, but I think if you were from a tropical place, you would probably consider it fairly cold. It's sort of in, I don't actually know what temperature it is today in Seattle. It's chilly. It's chilly and rainy. It's in the 40s Fahrenheit, which is in the 10s, like 8 to 7. Centigrade, the other one. All right. So let's take a little peek at the specific things that we're looking at here. Okay, so we have the information that we have is the country or area, commodity transaction, so exporting additives and oxygenates. I don't entirely know what that is. There's probably other things as well. And then we have the year, and then we have the unit, which tells me that this column is going to be in multiple different units, so that sounds great. And then the quantity, and then footnotes about the quantity, and then category. So that's the information that we have so far in this. And let me check the slightly more detailed view to see if we can get other things. Country or area, commodity transaction, the year, the unit, the quantity footnote, and category. So those are all the columns that we have. And our other file in here is a questionnaire guidelines. We have a PDF, which I'm assuming is the sort of like the data dictionary, the information about the data. All right, so Robbie says, you look happier on Friday than Wednesday. Why? I don't know. I've had more coffee this morning, so maybe that has something to do with it. Hello, Tom and Bouchen. All right, let's read in our data. And I'm going to do what you have. There was actually a really interesting discussion on Twitter the other day of, you know how sometimes when you read in a data frame, you have just like a default name that you call it, that like, here's the data frame I've read in. It looks like DF is becoming more popular over time for that, and DAT or DAT is becoming less popular over time. So there's sort of like a little switcheroony. Replacement? There's a specific... oh, there's a term from like population studies for that, but I don't remember what it is. I know it exists. So, hello, Musid, I'm guessing. Jorge says, I guess the public data set restriction was to prevent cheating with tasks when a competition is running. So it's more that if it's not public, then the people who might benefit from you having done the task can't see it. International energy. I know I could use tab complete, but that's going to add some weird backticks to my file path, and that's frustrating. And then all energy statistics. There we go. I believe it is. Nope. No, that's not what I wanted. Oh, it's added one backtick. Interesting. There we go. Okay. Let's get rid of the backticks. I don't know why they've been added. It's been happening for a while. There's an open bug. I'm sure the engineering team will get to it. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 columns. All right. Habibullah says, happy coding. Thank you. Robbie says, coffee makes happier. I don't know that. Well, less tired. This is one of the first things that I do in my day, so I sort of ramp up in energy over time. Vet says, thanks for these sessions. It's very helpful. I'm new to machine learning. How much time will it take to have a good grasp? Depends on how much time you spend practicing. And your background, like if you have like a statistics background or an epidemiology background, or if you're familiar with coding, it'll be a little bit faster. It's just there's lots of things that can make it easier. All right. What am I trying to achieve? So I'm trying to do a visualization of this data set to summarize what's in it in as few lines as possible. So, although I'm going to use pipelines to do this, so it might be slightly more than a few lines. We'll see. All right, so something that could be helpful here would be to look at all right, so let's look at our data frame. Let's group by, And this is just like a group by in SQL. It takes a column, and for every level of that column, it treats that as a separate group. And let's group by commodity transaction. Commodity transaction. And then let's group, that's also definitely not how you spell commodity transaction. So actually let's group by both commodity transaction and year, and then get the count. See what that looks like. Okay, so it looks like, okay, this is going up for all of these different things. We have additives and oxygenates, wind auto producer, wind main activity, all right, and then let's actually, let's graph that. So let's do ggplot, and we don't need to say the data set because this little percent, let's actually make this bigger, it's a little bit small. So this little percent, what is that, greater than percent, says, hey, whatever the output of this row is, use it as the input to the next row. So we don't need to say the data set because the data set is the output of the previous row. And then I want, it's a time series, so I want the x-axis to be year. And I want the y-axis to be n, so the count. And then I want the color, I think actually fill is the argument I want to use, to be commodity transaction. And then because it's a time series, I want a line. All right. Mapping must be created by AES. I did. So in a ggplot, you add additional layers with the plus. And I did not do that. All right. Oh, that's unreadable. That is not readable. Okay. Helpful. Could this be color instead? Would that make it better? So it looks like we have a lot of commodities. That's definitely something that we've learned from this. Vet says, I'm a business analyst. Cool. Then having that background knowledge will probably make it a little bit easier for you to be able to figure out what good applications are. Luzamil said, I just joined. What are you doing today? We are right now drawing a plot that is taking up 100% of the CPU because it's going to have a lot of different colors in it. So we may want to do a little bit of additional data cleaning to make this slightly more tractable. Robbie says, computer science also helps a lot. It can. It definitely can. Although, between, like, computation and statistics and pure computer science and algorithms, I feel like the statistics education might be more helpful if machine learning is the main thing that you're going to be doing. If you're looking for more of a machine engineer role, then traditional computer science, software engineering might be a little bit more helpful. It depends. It's all good. Like, none of it's going to hurt. It's just where you're going to have your strengths. And Tasa says, 2 people you need to watch to get started in ML. First is Andrew Ng, and the second is Rachel from Kaggle. Thank you. I took Andrew's course when it was in Octave, which is the open source version of MATLAB, and it was a while ago. All right, let's check out this absolutely unusable plot. Oh, something that is relatively new that we've added is if you create a visualization, it should show up here under your working directory, and you can download it. And I actually wanted to open this in a new tab, but it looks like that's not an option. And it is just like the same thing. So just something we've added. All right, so I think what I want to do is, you can see that we have a lot of these things that are like exports, consumption, imports, losses, etc., etc., and they have this prefix that is the type of energy source, and then the postfix is how it's being used. So I think something that could be useful here would be to take just the prefixes and group by that instead, and then I think we'd have fewer items per group, or fewer total groups, and it would be more available. Alessandra says, the first plot in a coding session is always unreadable. Yeah, true. Yogi says, series index, series value equal true. That looks like Python to me, and we're currently using R. Let me know if I'm wrong. So what I want to do is I want to take this, I want to create a new column that has just the prefix here. So what I'm going to do is mutate, which is how you create a new column, and I'm going to call it commodity truncated for short, and then I'm going to do string extract, and here I'm going to use a regular expression, so I can have any number, that's what the star means, of any character, that's what the period means, and I think I want to put that in a group as long as it's followed by a space and a dash. And let me actually do this just real quick, real quick up here first. And I'm going to take the top 150. Argument pattern is missing. Let's check the specific thing that string extract wants. No, I never want tab complete to have backticks around it. String and then pattern. Oh, I see. Okay, so the problem here is that I've given the pattern and I have not given the string, and the string is going to be the column commodity transaction. So in the column commodity transaction, get me all of the things that happen before the first space and dash. Let's see if that works. Okay, so we have this commodity transaction is electricity total wind production, and the category is, so the category is wind electricity. Wait, actually, I think we should just do this with the category instead. Here, let me try this. So instead of commodity transaction, so get rid of this, ignore this whole line. We want to do category. Okay. So we definitely have fewer categories now. You can see some of these are other bitmous coal, other coal products, other hydrocarbons, hard coal, heat, hydro, industrial waste, lignite, fuel oil, fuel wood, gas coke, gas oil, diesel. So these are all different fuel sources. Chandanley says, your column returned all NAs though. Yeah, it did. I think, so the reason that it did that is because I was doing it, yeah, I don't know why it did, because it was the commodity transaction column, yes. And here we have electricity. Maybe my capture groups are wrong. Maybe it should be this guy. Okay, so now it's returning everything, and we don't want these bits at the end. So there's definitely a regular expression that will get me this without having to do this next step that I'm doing, but I don't know it off the top of my head. So I'm going to mutate commodity truncated, and I'm going to do string remove, and from that column I'm going to remove all the instances of space dash. And then we should get rid of that extra stuff at the end, and then we should not have all NAs. All right, so it looks like that works. And this might be a better way to do it, because it looks like these categories are extremely more narrow, and we're looking for something that's maybe a little bit less narrow. So that might work. It is going to take a minute, though. Yeah. Chandanle says, you're going to need a look behind pattern. Oh, thank you. All right, so here is the pattern that Chen, or maybe Dan, oh, it could be Chen Daniel Y. I don't know. It's always really hard to guess what people's usernames are supposed to be pronounced as. If y'all could write your usernames in IPA, that would be a great boon to me in particular, and literally nobody else. No, that's not true. And a small group of people. IPA is the International Phonetic Alphabet. Okay, so this pattern means from the start of the string, any character, any number of times, and then I think this is the look behind syntax, space hyphen space. We don't want to space the beginning. Let's see if this works. All right. And Musamil, it also says try look behind regular expressions. Yeah. All right. So this looks pretty good. And it looks like it is a little bit broader than the category provided by the data set. So, and Dan, who I've been calling Chen, says Dan works. All right. Rodrigo says, I'm just listening. I'm working. Greetings from Mexico City. Oh, good morning. Wait, Mexico City is 2 hours ahead, maybe? Good day. All right, so. All right, yeah, so let's try this. So let's try the same graph idea, except instead of category, we're going to use this commodity truncated thing. So instead of category, commodity truncated. There's still a lot of commodities. This is a big data set. It is. Let's see, if we look at the data preview tab, it should tell us how many rows it is. No, I didn't want to do that. I'm just clicking wildly. Cancel. So we have 2,000 unique transactions, unique values for commodity, which is a fair number. And it looks like we have about 1.2 million rows. So it's fairly large. Okay. So looking at this output here, it looks like we haven't actually got all of them. So we have here municipal waste, municipal wastes, municipal wastes, municipal waste, transformation, and CHP plants. So it looks like we haven't actually successfully finished the data cleaning. And it also looks like this is a problem throughout. Hradcoal, H-R-A-D-C-O-A-L. All right, this is not a super clean data set. Noted. There are some typos. There are some inconsistencies in the ways that they've been edited. So the reason that we would get this out is if there is another second dash later. So it got us everything after the last dash, but not everything before the first dash. The Answer to Life says, OMG, Regex, we meet again. Gives me nightmares. Yeah. Yeah, they are useful, though. Greetings from Lithuania. Greetings, Lucas. Musabel says, try lower and trim white space. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to have to do. I'm wondering if there's maybe something else that's more useful to do in terms of visualization, though. So the, let's look at the task. Let's make sure we're not getting off task. So the task is a high-level summary, Kaggle notebook or PDF containing images which rapidly allow a reader to understand the data set. Okay, so summarize the key points of the data set in as few lines as possible. So I would say we want like 3 max figures. I find that after 3 figures, that's too many. Because I don't know, if you've ever been in a situation where you're interested in somebody and somebody sends you like a big report and it's got like 20 pages, and you're like, I'm not gonna read all this, man, I got other stuff to do. That might not be the most helpful thing. Okay, let's, all right, so we got a lot of NAs, so we can drop those right away. Let's not group by year. And let's actually assign this to... Also, and I said this isn't a very clean data set. It's a fairly clean data set. It is really not that bad. It's a parsable CSV. I have data information about it. The column names don't have spaces in them. Like, there are some typos, but there's also like a million rows. So I'll live with it. All right, and the reason I'm doing this up here is that this this extraction regular expression is fairly expensive. You're seeing it's taking a while to run each time. So I'm just going to add it as a column to the data set and then not mess with it anymore. So let's look at the data frame, which should now have this commodity truncated column in it, and just count the number. All right. And then actually let's just arrange, which is like, first of all, let's spell it right. Nope, that's a function, which is just like arrange in SQL. Anand says, I'm 2 months old to pandas and pythons and mangoes DB. Can you suggest any data set I can practice data cleanup and predictions? Yes, so go to Kaggle datasets and check out the tasks on the side. That's what we're doing now. So a little guided way for you to work with a data set. All right. Arun says, won't we treat NA? We could, because it might be interesting for someone who's working with this data set to know how much data is missing as well, potentially. Yeah. All right. Mathematical Ninja says, R seems chill to work on. I would agree. It's very helpful for tabular data. And I've said this before, but if you are familiar with pandas, pandas is like it's basically a port of base R into Python. So the data frame as a structure is from R. Actually, I think it's originally from S and then was moved into R when R was created in like 89, 80s, I want to say. So it's been around for a while. All right. So I think we would be okay to only look at the top 20. So I'm going to arrange by, let me zoom in a little bit. N, so recursive N, so we should have the top numbers at the top, right? And then I want to, so first of all, so I am going to remove NAs, but first I want to avoid using the column that has a bunch of NAs in it, because then I'll just remove all of my data. And that column was called footnote something or other footnotes. Quantity footnotes. So I'm going to use the subtract here to quantity footnotes. There we go. I'm going to use the subtract here so that we're not looking at that one. And then let's na.omit, right? Yeah. So remove the NAs and then group by commodity, and then arrange, and then let's take the top 25, probably. let's see. Okay, so here are the top. Why is top N not working? Select top or bottom rows, min rank, top N, table, number of rows, variable to use for ordering. All right, so N and then WT equals N, which I think means we also can get rid of this arrange clause. Oh, we have to ungroup. That's right, because it won't not return all your groups. So it's going to do the top N per group. All right, so here are the top 25 commodities, and they are arranged alphabetically by the commodity truncated. And it looks like we have a lot of, so here we have liquefied petroleum gas, This one is lowercase, this one is uppercase. So let's mutate and commodity trunk is going to be to lower. Is that the command? Oh, and Moosemill says try ungrouping. Yeah, people are. There's a little bit of a lag between me and the stream, so I'm not ignoring you. Tell me how to make it lowercase. Interesting. So it's not opening, probably due to pop-ups not being allowed or something. And Moosemill says it's just lower. But this looks like it is not a function. Is that from like stringer? R2 lowercase. Two lower. Okay, no space. There we go. And then commodity trunk. All right, so this should help us with the problems of things with different cases being grouped apart. All right, well here liquefied is spelled differently. So there's that. I don't know which one of these is right. Probably the one that there's more of, right? Right? All right. So let's make sure that we combine these two. Probably the best way to do that would be with another mutate. Mutate, commodity truncated, string replace, and that's in the commodity truncated column. I just want to double check what the number is in here. Pattern and replacement. So the pattern is this misspelled one. And we want to replace it with the one that more people have used, whether or not that one of these is the correct spelling, or maybe that's one of those words where you can have multiple spellings. I'm not particularly bothered one way or the other. All right, that should help. All right. Yeah, okay, so that looks like that works pretty good. And from here, let's do a a bar chart, I think. Yeah, probably a bar chart. So let's add a plot. Actually, first, let's make this into a data frame that we can use so we don't have to recall it every time we want to plot it. So we would call this top 25 commodities. Okay, so are these the top ones? So every country for every year that there is data gets a row. So we are counting the rows by country and year. Is that actually helpful? Take me to the data set. Because I'm wondering if it would be more helpful if we did something like filter by row, filter by year. So let's see, this is 1990 to 2014. So maybe 1990 to 2010, which is 20 years, or the first year and then the last year. That might be a more helpful way to compare these to each other. So let's do that. Yeah. All right, let's mess with this a little bit. So we're going to do this. From here, we want to filter. Nope, not how you spell filters. We're going to get only the rows where year, I think it's called year. Get rid of you. What's he called? Year equals 1990. 1190. Oh, it's all wood fuel. That's weird. 1190 over, what did we say, 2014? And then we want to group by both community trunk and year. Right, that'd do it. Oh, right. This is evaluation, not assignment. All right. So I have done it bad is what I've done here. So I have here every year from 1990 to 2014. Yeah. Oh, Musabel says the lag is killing me. I want to help. I'm sorry. We did figure out the lowercase though. Tendanely says, need non-greedy operator for the original, and I totally missed what happened the last 10 minutes. No worries. Oh, and Tendanely says, I think I've got a working one that finds the first. Oh, thank you. Helpful. So the difference is, instead of doing any number of any character, it is at least one, and then that's the first capture group. Right? Is that what the question mark means? I don't remember. Let's try this out, though, and see if this works. Not that I don't trust you, but head. No. Lowercase. I just want to make sure that it do what we think. No, I want to scroll over. I want to scroll over. There we go. All right, well, that looks okay. So let's rerun this real quick. Get rid of you, don't need you, don't need you. All right. So maybe I need to do, the or has the wrong scope. So where the year is 1990 or where the year is 2014. Because right now, it doesn't seem to actually be filtering the years that I want. Because if you look here, we're getting all of the years. And I just want to see sort of the change. There we go. All right, all right, all right. Excellent. Interestingly, it looks that like charcoal is showing up in 2014 as in the top 25, and it wasn't in 1990. Electricity, fuel oil, fuel wood, gas, oil, diesel. Heat is showing up in 2014 and not in 1990. Hard coal, So what was showing up in 1990 and not 2014? Nothing, it looks like. That's weird. All right. So what we have here are, actually, we should probably do this. Sorry, I know I'm getting things out of order. But what we should probably do up here is, in commodity transaction, we should replace this typo that we saw. There we go. Okay. Quick data cleaning. Now, what I should have done is the advice that I always give. I should have picked a, should have sat down and said with words what particular visualization we're going towards. So what I want to see is what's changed between 1990 and 2014 in terms of the top 25 energy commodities in terms of usage and by country. It occurs to me that we should probably also filter by something like exports, imports. Do they have something like used or something like that? All right, let's look at, all right, let's look at commodity transactions. Actually, let's look at the PDF. I think that's going to be the easiest way that we can get this information. Can I open it in here, please? Yes, there we go. All right. Lots of different definitions. Gases, electricity and things, different things. So I'm looking for flows, product code, flow code, exports, imports, non-energy uses, final energy consumption. Final consumption is all this one, industry's own use, transformation, product code. So let's try production. So let's try filtering for only columns that use production so we can see what's being produced, because presumably energy that is being produced is being used, would be my guess. We might end up with one hopefully very informative figure out of this, and that is A-OK by me. So what do we want to do? We want to filter by commodity transaction. Actually, first let's have commodity transaction be the lowercase version of commodity transaction. Nope, just this one. All right, so we're taking the whole column, we're converting it to lowercase. No. And from there, we want to get only the rows where in the commodity transaction column, I think detect, in the commodity transaction beans. In the commodity transaction column, we have the string production lowercase. Let's see if that works. Nice. All right. All right. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this. So from here, we are actually comparing meaningful things. So let's do, get rid of you. All right. So this is, I'm missing a pipe. That's the problem right there. All right, and I have a row here that is, I believe, redundant because I think, nope, it isn't redundant. We do actually want that. Okay. I was like, I think we converted it all to lowercase up there. We did not. All right. So we have here production, countries producing by year, I'm pretty sure is what we have here, because each row is a country. And yes. So actually, I think we don't necessarily need the top N. And then we can look at change, yeah, and see what's had the biggest change. So we can do that. All right, let me leave myself a little comment. What are we doing here? Change in number of countries producing energy source. We probably don't actually want number of countries, huh? We probably want like total production in units, because the unit's going to be the same between the two. But that won't be equalized because some of it is going to be like in tons and some of it's going to be in like liters. So probably what we want is percentage change in production between worldwide, just like Pitbull. Percent change in worldwide production between 1990 and 2014. Okay, so we don't want to count. So by this point, what we have out is this. So what I want is the sum of the quantity quantity equals sum, total quantity equals sum no, okay, but I want to do some sort of aggregate function. So, Ryan says, being able to download stuff from the working directory is super nice, much appreciated. Don't have to commit or download to do a workaround. Yeah. People have been asking for that for a really long time, and it finally happened. Muzamel said, we can try top N commodities by country. We could. The problem with that sort of graph is that there's lots of countries. So if I were going to do that, I'd probably have a map of countries and then I'd color code it for what their top commodity produced is, or top commodity consumed might actually be a little bit more informative. Or you could have one produced and one consumed and see like if there's a difference. Could be helpful. Yeah. Oh, and Musamil's helping. I know the lag. It's killer. It's Me says, do you have any article or guide which provides a list of NLP models? I mean, there's a lot. Probably like the proceedings of the ACL would probably be your best bet. That's the Association for Computational Linguistics. Aye. So, I don't think we want to mutate, because mutate is going to create a new column. I think we want an aggregate function for summing in tidyverse. Let's see. What would I search for that? Tidyverse, because that's the library we're using for data manipulation. Sum by group. Nope. Summarize. There we go. All right. So summarize is the function. You could use IS or IZ, and then the count, position, range, min, max, quantile, mean, median, N distinct, any, all. I actually just want some. All right, so let's try this. I think I can just say some, because that is a, my kernel, come back. Beans, did not mean to close that. Meanwhile, let's close a bunch of tabs we're not using. Okay, so I want to use the summarize function, and what that is it applies to each group the function of your choice over the column of your choice. So I'm going to want to do sum over the quantity column, which will give me the sum per group, which I think is going to be more helpful than knowing like how many countries produce bitumen and how that changed. And Dan on Twitch has, I'm feeling impatient. I'm just going to restart that. Has a better way to do the in. So year in, that is a base R operator, and then probably C, 1990, 2014. Awesome. So this way, instead of having a bunch of or statements, I could have one statement that applies each of them. Thank you. Helpful. Yeah. Talha says F for kernel. That's fine. I just refreshed. Okay. All right. So we have this, and then from here we want to, instead of mutate, we want summarize. And then the summarize that we want is sum by quantity. Is this gonna work? Hey, fantastic. Awesome. So from here, we want to, you can see that these are clearly in very different units, like black liquor and bitumen. I want to look for a percentage increase from 1990 to 2014. So if I'm in SQL, I'd use this during doing window functions. Are there window functions in the tidyverse? Window functions. Hadley, help. I realized that the tidyverse is not just Hadley. There are window functions. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? I just wanted it and it was already there. This is why I really like R. All right. Blah, 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 blah. G-rank, mutate, layer D change. All right. And what is the default lag? Compute z-score based on the number of games played, type of window functions, offset, lead, and lag. Fantastic. Yeah, okay, so I think what I want to do from here, first of all, let's call this something so we don't have to rerun it every time. Quantity, commodity, by 2014, 1990 through 2014. I'm not going to put a dash in there because that will be an unparsable sign. All right. And then from here, so I can get rid of this cell. That cell is nothing. So from here, if I look at quantity, first spell quantity, okay. So that should give us, yep, same output that we had. All right. So from here, we want to group by commodity. Commodity truncated. Excellent. From there, we want to mutate percent. Yeah, that's usually what people use for percent. Percent change. And from there, we want to have So we want to delete the lag. Some I think this might need to be in quotes. I don't think this is going to work. I think I have unfortunately caused myself a difficulty by having a column name with a non-character in it. I don't think this will work. Yeah, it's definitely not going to work. All right, so the first thing we want to do is clean names. Janitor, help me. Janitor, clean names. The text : means that I'm using something from a package I haven't installed or haven't loaded into my namespace. So from here, yeah, much better. So paste back what I had, and from there we should be able to do this, and this should work. And lag is a function. Nice. Okay, so this has given us the change. And from here, I want to do this whole thing divided by some quantity, which will give us the percent change. Excellent. Excellent. So this is increased by about 100%, 60%, except this isn't actually percent. I guess we can multiply that by 100. I think is probably the easiest thing to do there. Mutate PCT change equals 100 times PCT change. So let's make that an actual percent. There we go. Very nice. And from here, we want to do first to ungroup. And then na.omit to get rid of the first of each one. And from here, I think this should be plottable. So let's do ggplot. And then we want to do, on the x-axis, we probably want the commodity truncated. And then on the y-axis, we probably want percent change. And in R, most style guides suggest having spaces around argument assignment in functions. And then from here, we want to have probably a bar plot. It's going to be the easiest thing to see. Oh, that's right, because it is actually geom. I think it's actually geom bar. Yeah, geom bar. There we go. Arrow stat count can only have X or Y aesthetic. All right, let's just do points, just to make my life easier. Something's weird. Something's gone horribly wrong. All right, so first thing we want to do is probably filter not is numeric. All right, that still gives me a negative infinity in here. Let's say percent change, because it can be positive or negative, but we want it to not be negative infinity. That's probably no good. So how do we get around that? Yeah. Dan says, does equals equals negative infinity work? Yeah, that might be the easiest thing. But I'm going to say not equals negative inf. Excellent. Okay, so from here, we should be able to paste back in this and get a better plot. We don't. Okay. Why is this so weird? So some of them have decreased extremely dramatically and some of them haven't. So let's actually do the log of percent change. Oh, right. Okay. We don't want to do log because we've got negative values. So basically I want to see if there's outliers. Jerry says you have to divide by lag sum. I don't know that I do, because the percentage change that I'm changing is from the original percentage. So if it's from the original one. So if this and okay, so let's say I produced exactly the same amount. Then that would be, this would be 0% change. Yeah, no, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, yes. I had a moment where I was just confusing myself, and I think it's actually probably fine. Yeah, so if I divided by lag sum, it would be showing the percentage, so it would be no change over time would still be 0, but if there was like 3 times as many produced here as here, it would flip it. Basically, I want to divide by some quantity because I want to pin it to the first year, if that makes sense. Dan says, can you do coord flip and then find the ones that are causing the problem? That's a good point. So it looks like gas coke is the main one, and it has a negative 4,000% change. Brown coal briquettes is another one that has a pretty negative change, and then patent fuel is another one that has a very negative change. So what we could do is filter for percent change being, let's say, greater than negative 500. So let's do, oh, no, caps lock. Filter percent change is greater than negative 500. And that should be a little bit more readable. Yeah, and it looks like peat products also had a very negative change. So let's actually say, look at ones that are only greater than negative 100. Yeah. Actually, I think that's fairly readable IMO. But I do want to reorder by community truncation, and I want to reorder that by percent change. Oh, I'm pretty sure this is how that works. Yeah, there we go. So we have sorted. So we can see that other kerosene and peat have the so the ones that have had negative change, so are getting less common over time, are lubricants, brown coal, oil shale, paraffin waxes, fuel oil, aviation gasoline, peat, and other kerosene. The one that has the greatest change is biodiesel. Good to see. Anthracite, additives and oxygenates, biogases, biogasoline, municipal waste, industrial waste. presumably as a way to produce energy. So that's pretty cool, actually. Actually, I might get rid of this. It might be helpful to see, hey, these are the things that we are absolutely getting rid of. And I think I also want a line at 0. How do I do that? ggplot, add line. Just so it's easy to see which are negative and which are positive. Add a straight line to a plot. That's what I want. It's geom, okay. It's geom h line, and then the y-intercept will be 0. So geom h line and 0. You lied. Y-intercept, line type, color, size. It draws a horizontal line. Well, okay, maybe we have to say y-intercept specifically. There we go. And the color, I actually want it to be red. There we go. So you can see what is increasing and what is decreasing. So let's add a title. Percent change in global production, and then /n for a new line, 1990 through 2014. Awesome. So for here, I actually want to drop the, actually, instead of doing chord flip, I'm just going to switch which one of these is which I think should work. Y and then X, and I think I'm going to need to flip my line as well. Yep, and then instead of an H line, I want it to be a B line probably? Nope. Oh, which makes this probably x-intercept, huh? Yeah, there we go. Excellent. And so from here, I want to have my y label be nothing. Get rid of that. Excellent. And then my x label be percent change. Actually, I think I can put some of this information in the label instead of percent change in global production by commodity. Excellent. So I'm putting the information about it being from 1990 to 2014 down here in the label. So this is the full graph. And then let's also do one where we filter percent change greater than -100. So we remove the outliers. Excellent. By commodity, outliers removed. All right. So it looks like overall, most commodities we're producing more of, but some we are producing less of. Other kerosene, peat, aviation, gasoline, etc. All right. So it is 10:15. Oh, and Dan just mentioned the whole V-line thing. Thank you. And Newsmill says we can do geom line on 0. I'm assuming that's from when I was figuring out the line. All right. I think we are good to go. So we definitely haven't created like a complete beautiful visualization, but I think it is sort of like a very early beginning. Notebook showing the change in production of energy commodities in global production. That's important. Global production of energy commodities 1990 through 2014. Feel free to expand and add additional analyses. So I bet most of you could probably do some interesting, let's see, hide input, hide output. So this is just making sure it doesn't show up in the final notebook. Don't need to see that. Don't need to see that. I think that'll be helpful. So this should create a nice looking little notebook that's sort of a starter kernel for this task. And it's running. The big R query library updated recently, so I'm getting some messages about that. What about now? Are you done now? Yeah, excellent. So you can see in the notebook, there's just the little text I wrote, and then these very starter kernels that I think still have some interesting information in them. And you can also see the sort of process I went through to get that information out. So I'm going to set this to public, which should make this public as well. Let me zoom in, zoom out. Yeah, so you can see that it's open access now. And I'm going to submit this to the task. I, again, don't think it's like the best example of what someone could do here, but it is an example and just sort of kicking it off. So submit this. All right. So now if you like it, you can come give it an upvote. Hopefully other people will add their own pieces as well that maybe are slightly nicer than mine that I just sort of threw together in a small amount of time. And that is where I think I'm going to call it for today. So thank you for joining, everybody. Again, we found a task. I did a pretty basic approach to the task. They were interested in sort of high-level visualizations and summaries of the information to help people understand it. So this is one very small part of the problem. It's a very rich data set. It's got over 1 million rows, so lots to play around with if you're looking for some visualization or EDA practice. That's where I'm gonna call it for today. So thank you for joining me. We will be back next Wednesday for the Kaggle reading group. We're reading a paper on search strategies for machine translation, which would work for sort of any sequence-to-sequence encoder-decoder architecture. And sort of the punchline of that paper is that bigger beam search, so considering more candidates, is actually making machine translation output worse, which is very counterintuitive if you're familiar with beam search. So if you are interested in that, please feel free to join in next Wednesday, 9 to 10. And then I will be back next Friday, 9 to 10 for more live coding. And who knows what we'll do then. Something fun. All right. Have a great weekend, and I will see you on Kaggle. Thank you for joining. Bye.